The world of love and hip-hop has been rocked by a shocking revelation that has left fans speechless. Reports have surfaced claiming Rasheeda is pregnant, but the alleged father is not her husband, Kirk Frost. The news spread through gossip blogs and social media within minutes, setting off a wave of disbelief, anger, and endless speculation. For years, Kirk and Rasheeda have been one of the most talked about couples on reality TV, surviving multiple scandals and rumors of infidelity. But this latest twist feels like the ultimate betrayal. Sources close to the couple reveal that Kirk completely lost control when he found out, confronting Rasheeda in an explosive argument that quickly spiraled out of control. Those who witnessed it say the tension between them had been building for weeks, and this revelation finally pushed things past the breaking point. Fans online are demanding answers, sharing screenshots, and debating whether the reports are real or another publicity stunt gone wrong. Still, the leaked documents and insider whispers suggest this time, the drama might be very real. Kirk and Rasheeda's marriage, once seen as unbreakable despite its ups and downs, is now hanging by a thread, and neither has publicly addressed the chaos. The entertainment world is holding its breath, waiting to see how this story unfolds. Because one thing is certain, nothing will ever be the same again for this love and hip-hop power couple. As the shocking pregnancy news broke, the internet erupted into chaos. Within hours, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok were flooded with posts, reactions, and conspiracy theories. Fan pages started dissecting every old clip of Rasheeda and Kirk from Love and Hip Hop, looking for hints they might have missed. Some pointed out moments when Rasheeda seemed distant or defensive, while others claimed Kirk's recent silence online was proof he already knew something was wrong. Hashtags like Cure Rasheeda Baby Drama and Kirk Not the Father began trending across multiple platforms, as gossip blogs published screenshots of alleged text messages and supposed medical reports. Influencers and podcast hosts jumped in, fueling the fire with commentary videos, emotional takes, and wild assumptions. One popular gossip page even released a blurry photo allegedly showing Rasheeda at a clinic with a man who was definitely not Kirk, sending the internet into full meltdown mode. Fans started choosing sides, some defending Rasheeda and calling her a victim of online hate, while others accused her of betrayal and hypocrisy after years of criticizing Kirk for his own infidelities. The situation quickly spiraled beyond control, with every rumor spawning another, making it impossible to tell what was real. Meanwhile, Kirk's social media accounts went completely dark. He didn't post, comment, or appear in any live videos. His silence only made fans more suspicious, leading many to believe he was devastated and hiding from the public eye. Even cast members from the show started reacting subtly through cryptic posts and emojis, hinting that they knew more than they could say. The love and hip-hop community was divided, the fan base was on edge, and the tension was unbearable. Every minute brought a new claim, a new leak, and a new layer of confusion. No one knew who to believe, but everyone agreed on one thing: this scandal was far from over, and the real story had yet to be revealed. Kirk Frost found out about the scandal in the most humiliating way imaginable. He wasn't told by Rasheeda, by family, or even by producers. He saw it online. One morning, as he scrolled through his feed, he noticed his notifications blowing up, people tagging him under posts filled with gossip headlines and shocking comments. "Kirk, is this true? Bro, check your wife." The blood drained from his face as he clicked one of the links. There it was, a gossip blog headline screaming that Rasheeda was pregnant with another man's child, backed by supposed medical paperwork and photos of her leaving a clinic. At first, he laughed it off, assuming it was another baseless rumor meant to stir up drama. But then he saw the date on the documents and the name attached to the leaked file. His hands trembled. The anger rushed in so fast that he could barely breathe. People were already messaging him privately, sending screenshots, and one of his closest friends even called, whispering that the story might be true. Kirk couldn't accept it. He stormed out of the house, pacing around the driveway, trying to piece together how this could have happened. He replayed the last few months in his mind, Rasheeda's sudden mood changes, her secretive phone calls, and how she started avoiding family gatherings. All of it started to make a terrible kind of sense. Within an hour, Kirk was calling Rasheeda nonstop, but she wasn't answering. He threw his phone against the wall, shouting in frustration. The betrayal, the embarrassment, and the disbelief were too much. Cameras from the show were already calling his publicist for comment, and the producers wanted to know if they could record his reaction. That made him even angrier. He didn't want a storyline. He wanted the truth. By the end of the day, he had packed a bag and decided to confront Rasheeda face to face. Whether the story was real or not, he needed answers, and this time, no cameras, no filters, no lies. He was going to look her in the eye and demand to know if the woman he built a life with had really destroyed everything they once had. When Kirk arrived home, the tension in the air was suffocating. The house that once felt warm and filled with laughter now seemed cold, echoing with the silence of betrayal. Rasheeda was sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone, pretending not to notice him storming in. Kirk slammed the door behind him, his face twisted with anger and disbelief. "You gonna tell me what this is?" he shouted, holding up his phone with the blog headline flashing across the screen. Rasheeda barely looked up. "I'm not doing this with you right now," she said calmly, which only enraged him more. He demanded to know the truth, who the man was, why she hadn't told him, and if the baby she was carrying was really his. Rasheeda stood her ground, her voice steady but sharp, telling him to lower his tone and respect the fact that she didn't owe him an explanation after everything he had done to her over the years. That hit Kirk like a punch to the chest. "So this is revenge?" he yelled, pacing the room. "You gonna ruin our family because of my past?" Rasheeda snapped back. "You ruined this marriage long before I did anything." The argument exploded into chaos, shouting, tears, and years of resentment spilling out all at once. Kirk accused her of destroying his name, humiliating him in front of the world, while Rasheeda fired back that she was tired of being the one who always forgave and fixed things. She told him she was done living a lie for the cameras and for the fans. Kirk's voice broke as he asked one last time if the child was his. Rasheeda hesitated, then looked him dead in the eyes and said, "You already know the answer." That silence that followed was louder than any scream. Kirk lost it. He punched the wall, knocking over a lamp as tears filled his eyes. Rasheeda flinched but stood her ground, watching the man she once loved fall apart in front of her. Their house staff rushed in, trying to calm him down, but he pushed past them, demanding to know who the other man was. When Rasheeda refused to answer, he shouted that he'd find out himself and stormed out, slamming the door so hard it shook the walls. The moment he was gone, Rasheeda sat down and finally let her tears fall. The confrontation was over, but the real war between them had just begun. The next morning, the scandal took an even darker turn. A video started circulating online, showing Rasheeda in what appeared to be a hotel room, talking on the phone and admitting that the baby might not be Kirk's. The clip was grainy, clearly recorded without her knowledge, but it was enough to ignite the internet all over again. Within minutes, the video went viral, appearing on every gossip blog and fan page. Kirk saw it after a friend sent him the link with just 3 words: "You need this." At first, he refused to watch, terrified of what he might see, but curiosity and pain got the best of him. As he played the clip, his heart dropped. The voice was unmistakably Rasheeda's. She was pacing, her tone filled with anxiety, saying, "I never meant for it to happen this way. He can never find out." Then, a man's voice faintly responded in the background, but the face was blurred. Kirk leaned closer, trying to make out who it was, but the camera shifted before showing anything clear. Still, the voice sounded hauntingly familiar. He froze, replaying the clip over and over, each second cutting deeper into him. His phone started buzzing nonstop as producers, friends, and fans began reaching out for his reaction. He didn't respond to anyone. Instead, he locked himself in his room, pacing like a man losing his mind. He smashed a glass against the wall and shouted in frustration, unable to process the betrayal. Every flash of memory with Rasheeda, their early love, their business empire, the family they built now felt like a lie. He looked at himself in the mirror, eyes swollen with anger and disbelief, and whispered, "Why her?" Hours passed, and he hadn't eaten or slept. Finally, he called one of his closest friends and said, "I need to know who that man is." His voice was broken, but his tone was cold. The friend warned him to calm down, but Kirk had already made up his mind. He was going to find out the truth no matter what it took, even if it meant uncovering something that would change his life forever. By the next evening, Kirk could no longer hold back his rage or confusion. He drove straight to the house, ignoring every call from producers and friends who begged him not to make a scene. When he arrived, Rasheeda was sitting in the living room, calm but visibly tense, as if she already knew this confrontation was inevitable. Kirk stood in front of her, eyes red, voice trembling between fury and heartbreak. "I saw the video," he said quietly at first, then louder. "I heard every word, Rasheeda." "Who is he?" Rasheeda didn't respond immediately. She took a deep breath and tried to stay composed, saying she never wanted things to happen this way. Kirk demanded a name, pacing like a storm about to explode. "Don't make me find out from the streets," he shouted. "Be woman enough to tell me right now." Finally, Rasheeda's voice cracked as she whispered, "You already know him." Kirk froze, staring at her in disbelief. "What are you talking about?" She looked down, tears filling her eyes, and said, "It wasn't supposed to happen. We were both hurt, we were both angry, and one mistake turned into something I can't take back." Kirk's heartbeat pounded in his ears as he tried to process her words. "So it's true," he muttered. "You did this with someone close to me?" Rasheeda nodded silently. The room felt colder with every second that passed. Kirk threw his phone onto the couch and shouted that she had destroyed everything they built together. Rasheeda tried to explain, saying she felt invisible, unloved, and pushed away for years, and when someone finally gave her attention, she made the worst decision of her life. But Kirk wasn't listening anymore. He was shaking with rage and betrayal, asking over and over, "Who is it?" Rasheeda hesitated again, her silence confirming the depth of her guilt. "You'll see for yourself," she said softly, "because he's on his way here." Kirk's expression went blank for a moment as her words sank in. His chest tightened, his breathing grew heavy, and before he could react, headlights flashed through the front window. A car had just pulled up outside. Kirk turned to look, his anger ready to erupt, knowing that the man stepping out of that car was about to shatter what little was left of his world. The sound of the car door closing outside made Kirk's blood boil. He stood frozen for a second, staring at the front door like a man about to face his worst nightmare. Rasheeda wiped her tears and whispered, "Please, just listen before you do anything stupid." But Kirk wasn't hearing her anymore. His hands were shaking, his jaw clenched, every muscle in his body ready to explode. The door opened slowly, and in walked a man Kirk knew all too well, his longtime friend and business associate, the one he had trusted for years like a brother. The moment their eyes met, the room fell silent. Time seemed to stop. Kirk's voice broke as he said, "Tell me this isn't real. Tell me you didn't do this." The man tried to speak, his face filled with guilt, but Kirk lunged forward, shoving him hard against the wall. "You slept with my wife?" he screamed, his voice echoing through the house. Rasheeda jumped up, begging him to stop, but the anger had taken over completely. Kirk threw a punch, then another, yelling that he brought this man into his home, into his life, and he repaid him by betraying him in the worst way possible. The man didn't fight back. He just stood there, bleeding from the lip, saying, "It wasn't supposed to happen. We didn't plan this." That only made things worse. Kirk shouted that every time he invited him to dinner, every time they laughed together, he was being played for a fool. Rasheeda screamed through tears, trying to separate them, but Kirk pushed past her, his emotions spiraling out of control. Security rushed in from the hallway, grabbing Kirk before things got even more violent. He kept yelling that both of them ruined his life, that everything he built had been destroyed in one moment of weakness. Rasheeda collapsed on the floor, sobbing, saying she was sorry and that she never wanted to hurt him like this. The friend stood there in silence, unable to even look at Kirk, his head hanging low. Finally, security managed to pull Kirk back, holding him as he shouted one last time, "You're dead to me. Both of you!" He tore himself away and stormed out of the house, slamming the door behind him with such force that the walls shook. Outside, he broke down completely, leaning against his car, breathing heavily, tears mixing with rage. Inside, Rasheeda and the man stood in the wreckage of what they had done, both realizing that the truth, once revealed, could never be undone. The betrayal was complete, and nothing, no apology, no explanation could ever repair what had just been destroyed. The house was silent after Kirk stormed out, but the chaos he left behind lingered like smoke. Rasheeda sat on the floor, her hands trembling, mascara streaked down her cheeks. The friend she betrayed Kirk with stood in the corner, shaken and speechless. Minutes later, Rasheeda finally stood up, wiped her face, and told him to leave. "You need to go," she said quietly. "I can't even look at you right now." He nodded, grabbed his jacket, and walked out without saying another word. Outside, Kirk was sitting in his car, gripping the steering wheel, his eyes hollow and unfocused. He had driven there to get answers, but all he found was heartbreak. When Rasheeda came outside to face him, he didn't even look at her at first. "You ruined me," he whispered, his voice breaking. "You took everything we built and burned it down." Rasheeda tried to speak, but her words came out as sobs. "I didn't mean for it to go this far," she said. "I was lost, Kirk. I felt like you didn't see me anymore." Kirk turned toward her, shaking his head slowly. "You think that makes this right? You think pain justifies betrayal?" He stepped out of the car and stood in front of her, tears streaming down his face. "You could have told me, Rasheeda. You could have left, but you let me love you while you were lying to me." She tried to touch his hand, but he pulled away. The hurt was too deep, too raw. Finally, Rasheeda whispered, "Maybe you should go." That was the moment it truly sank in she was choosing to end it. Kirk stared at her for a long second, as if hoping she'd take it back. But she didn't. He nodded slowly, grabbed his keys and said, "I hope he was worth it." Then he walked to his car and drove away, leaving behind the life he had built for years. Inside, Rasheeda collapsed on the couch, sobbing uncontrollably as the weight of her actions crushed her. She had won nothing and lost everything. Kirk spent that night driving aimlessly through the city, the streets blurring through his tears. Every song on the radio reminded him of her. Every memory burned a little deeper. The man who once seemed unbreakable was now completely shattered. Not by fame, not by the world, but by the one person he trusted most. And just like that, the story of Kirk and Rasheeda took a turn no one could have ever imagined. A relationship that once symbolized resilience and love in the public eye now lay in ruins, exposed for the world to dissect. The truth had come out, but instead of closure, it brought destruction. Kirk was left broken, betrayed not only by his wife, but by a man he had trusted like family. Rasheeda, though she tried to justify her actions through pain and loneliness, found herself drowning in guilt and regret. The fallout spread across social media like wildfire. Fans split into two camps, some defending Rasheeda for finally standing up for herself, others accusing her of hypocrisy and emotional cruelty. The couple who once turned every scandal into a storyline now faced the one thing even reality TV couldn't fix: a shattered marriage built on secrets. The cameras may have stopped rolling, but the real drama had only just begun. The question now wasn't about who was right or wrong, it was about whether love can survive betrayal, or if trust, once broken, can ever be repaired. What do you think? Was Rasheeda justified after years of emotional neglect, or did she cross an unforgivable line? And can Kirk ever recover from a betrayal that hit this close to home? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, because this story has shaken the love and hip-hop world to its core, and everyone has an opinion on how it should end. One thing is certain: the truth always finds its way to the surface, and when it does, it changes everything. It changes everything.